we're good. And since you're mic'd up, you can just start talking, and I'll get some shots. So yeah, this is one of, yeah.
Yes, this is a Trans-World Snowmobile Expedition by Bill Cooper out of Willow River, Minnesota. And what they did is they wanted to go around, all around. It shows a map here, starting in Minnesota, going up through Canada, over to Green Bay, and then flying across to Sweden, and then through Finland, and then through Russia, all the way back to across over to Alaska, and then all the way back to Minnesota. It was just it was 7 of them on snowmobiles. This motorski was out of St. Forest Lake, Minnesota, the distributor, and his name was Bill Cooper, and he owned a squirrel cage bar up in Willow River. And what these guys were going to try to do is prove the snowmobiles and how good they were, reliability, and like everything else. And what this here is they had a stock motorski with a 16-gallon fuel tank on the back, and that was the extra, besides extra fuel. And then this is they have a tent here and the sleeping bag, the original one, and their suits as they go along. And they got up into Churchill up here, and they run into a bad winter up there. It was like 100 mile an hour winds and everything else. So it was a blizzard, so they had to stop for a while, for a day or two. And it's kind of funny. They said this is, kind of funny up there too, is they called the school off. So what did the kids do? They were outside playing because they were so well conditioned. They brought back some of the Eskimo boots that were handmade by the Eskimo people up there, and they even had Eskimo dictionary that would convert English to Eskimo. And then some of the styling that the hand did of to keep warm their booties. It was quite amazing. This is one of only 2 sleds that ever came back, and the other ones, the 5, they kind of fell into the ocean. They used a special oil, and it was a synthetic oil out of Maynard, North Dakota. They never had a problem with the motors. Motors ran really great. They did have some breakage on the cleats. Otherwise, it was a very, very good snowmobile. They got up there and they started running out of snow and ice, and they got into Green Bay and got turned down there, and that was the end of their expedition. But if you ever get a chance to read one of their books, it's quite an honor to have this display in our museum here. These here models are made with a man over in Wisconsin, and he hand builds these. They're all out of wood, and he does such a perfect job. And just like this Big Al, he made these with 4 engines. This is an actual picture of the Big Al, and this is the model that he modeled it after. And just like the Sonic Challenger here, he made this all out of wood. What a great job he does in all of his models. This is a Skidoo Blizzard, and this Sonic Challenger went, I think it was a little over 100 miles and 110 miles an hour. But what a beautiful job to represent the snowmobile industry. Mm-hmm.
The spark plug wires and all that, those little intricate details.
Isn't it something else? Look at the drive belts. It's at the dry belts and everything. It just.
Gotta get Dale Jr.
'72, '73, and it's a Polaris cardboard that was on the outside of the crates. Back then, it's wax cardboard. And then you'll notice there's an arrow right here. And what that arrow signifies is that's the heavy engine end where the engine is. So that when they come in with the forklifts, they know where to place them to not make it so tippy.
All right. Simple but effective.
Yeah. You tell me what.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think back to what was. Hey, that's the stinger I rode. Look at that.
I'll never forget what your comments were. I've never had so much fun going 20 miles an hour. Well, you know,
That's true.
is this too much glare?
No, I can work with that.
Okay. This is a restoration of the X3. X3 was a experimental twin engine, twin 800s lay down snowmobile. This is how I purchased it from a great guy, is Gene Ficker out of Rosso. And as we help from all these people down here that helped me reconstruct it and make it to go back to original stance with the motors and everything else. And it's a lay down with a snowmobile track. It's all snowmobile parts that was readily available back then. They even had a parachute on the back, and they said, well, what's the parachute for? That's because the tracks were kind of unreliable, that if you get much over 100 miles an hour, they might just break and fly right off. Then you have no brakes. So that's what the parachute was, to slow you down. This is how it was made up, and you laid on your stomach underneath this canopy and looked out through the carburetors. Just really cool. Mike Baker drove it, and Polaris Industries designed it, and it's right now down at the Gottschalk Family Museum in Kimball, Minnesota. And they take it to shows and everything else. Again, thanks for everybody that contributed to this historic machine.
Great.
Triple.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, this is definitely one of the more wild machines I've ever seen.
Artie Cat in the mid-70s decided to get into lawnmowers and to bicycles. These were imported from France, and then they put their Artie Cat decals on them. And what they had, the green one was for males, and then a blue one for females. It was just another product they used to market all their success that they had back then. Really cool to have an Artie Cat bicycle. And again, thanks to Dave Gunther, and this is the one he loaned us for our museum here.
'73.
I have some cutaways of engines. I don't know if you haven't seen this. This is the Scorpion logo. This is the Scorpion logo they used in 70, 69, 68, and with the logo on the seat. And it was really cool that they had red seats and then they had black seats as the years new models came into effect. So if you see a Scorpion logo, that's a Scorpion made in Crosby, Minnesota. Back in the day, even Artie Cat had a burglar alarm. You take this burglar alarm and you put it in the side of your tunnel and hook it up. And this is, I've only seen 2 or 3 like this, and Artie Cat had all sorts of accessories to help make your sled a personal one.
Huh.
Back in the day, the Wankel was made a rotary by the Germans, and they started using it in 1968, and this is a 74, but this is how a rotary turned in the motor, just like Mazda used it a little later on. And then OMC made a bigger one, and this one here's got a lot bigger rotary, and it was a lot bigger cc. This was only 295 cc for the Sachs, and then the OMC was 528 cc, 35 horsepower. They had a kind of a really nice rumble to them and everything else, and they were really quick, but they only lasted about 5 years, 6 years, and then it just got too expensive to build, and so we see them disappear. One nice thing about a rotary, they were so easy to start. There was hardly any compression, so kids could start them very easily.
Lowest vibration level.
Yes.
Did anybody ever figure out how to get them to last longer?
Well, you had to use a detergent oil because the wipers and the rings would carbon up in here, so you had to use a higher detergent oil, and the exhaust would get really red hot. That it wouldn't burn all the gases quite as quick as they should have. So I think that's what happened to Mazda too. They couldn't get a good combustion burn, and to make, nowadays you have to be ever so clean, and I think that's one thing too, because even Sachs came out with a twin rotary, and it still puts out a lot of heat.
Pretty sled.
This here is a Davco. It was made in Grey Eagle, Minnesota. Dave passed away now, but this was his number 7. It's all hand built. He did a great job of it. It's got a 6.5 horsepower motor in it, and all the fixtures and everything are hand built. It's made for a kid more than anything else, but it's got a Arctic Cat front end with a wall track, and we mostly have it on display. My wife really loves it. This is her sled. She just likes it because of the color that we made it after a Polaris RXL.
Really cool. Okay. Tiny little tank.
Gotta be light. Gotta be light.
Oh yeah.
That's it. Gotta be light.
Wow.
This here is display of clutches. I didn't have them out before, and this is how they first started, and they call it a kidney weight. And it's kidney weight where the RPM starts out, and then it'll push down as the RPM comes up, and then force your drive clutch in, and then squeezes the belt, and then the faster you go, the more the weight puts into pressure. This is a Scorpion clutch, and the same kind of a idea with a roller and a weights tool. The bigger the motor, the bigger the weight you put on them. And the same thing, it just this different design, just like this one here is designed with a coil spring. And the higher RPM, the spring spreads out and pushes the drive sheave further in to make you go faster. This is a Salisbury race clutch. They made them. That was an aftermarket company that built them for, like Arctic used them, and a lot of companies used them back then. And then this is a Polaris steel clutch. A lot of people use these. Polaris used them, Arctic Cat did too. One basic thing, once they got the steel, then they went into an aluminum clutch. And this is one thing about this aluminum clutch, it doesn't burn your belt as much, and then they had a wider belt to keep the belt cool. This is a cutaway of a regular clutch and a little weight in here against the roller. So you change your weights and have heavier weights and heavier springs for the higher horsepower. And just like this is a piece that holds your roller, and it's still all the same thing, a higher RPM, it pushes in and the belt goes higher. This is a newer style clutch. As we go along, it still is the basic roller and weight combination. And this is a 2017, and these are all the same. The only thing is they changed the top pieces, but they just made them beefier. And this is the same combination they did back in the 70s is still used today.
Wow. When was this to this?
This is about 1980, and this is 2018.
Wow.
And one thing, they took the cover and have it more open so it's cooling. The main thing is they don't want your clutches to get hot. And that's just like an ATV, they get warm trying to keep the mud and the dirt and dust out, and they want to keep the belt cool.
Do it. But that's my problem.
See, and then this engine and that engine are all wood. The same guy built them.
Oh wow. I think I did
Might have
get a
done
couple
that.
of shots of that before, but this is so cool too. Geez, just take the time to make it actually right. You know? That is so cool.
Yes. made. And all them too, see.
Oh yeah. It's right there.
Yeah. You can go in here too.
Yeah, this is definitely extended from the last time I was in here.
See the racing bicycle. It's all aluminum.
What's this car doing in here?
That's our Sunday go to have ice cream.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a little Mustang
Oh, I
convertible.
didn't realize it was a convertible.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yellow convertible.
On our honeymoon, we went to So how long have these been accumulating for, and are they just like retired hoods from racers or what?
Just retired hoods. Some racers and some just regular. Yes, and the main thing is, sure, there's some banged up and this and that, but if I can help out without throwing them in the scrap, and somebody can use them and utilize them, and to help history. See the flag there? See, this is our motto back in the '60s. Keep on trucking. And the fun thing, I don't know if I know you see the kitchen sink there. See, whenever you go to like someplace a swap meet, when you find the kitchen sink, you seen everything. Have you seen that one? That's kind of cute, I think. Always have projects.
Yeah.
This is kind of cool.
I like what boxers wear out to the ring, you know?
I'll show you this now. Look at this here. You might not, this is made in Canada, but what's really cool about this, look at it, starts here, goes all the way around, all the way up over, and all the way around, and it's one piece. It wasn't welded. They bent it that way.
No way.
But I can't believe, you know, and this is an Alouette tow sled, but it was all one manufacturer. How they did that and bend it like that was just super cool.
Very cool. Oh, and easier to, somebody can stand on the back of it.
Yep.
Very cool.
I got to get a mat made now for it yet, and then, yep, and then paint it.
Jeez, in 1974. Man.
The old toboggans, how much fun we used to have on that. All of, 5+ people going down there. And this is a toboggan pad that they offered you put on there. It's a kind of cushion when you went over the bumps.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so your butt doesn't get too flattened.
Yeah. There's a little ski hill not too far from my house that still has a toboggan track.
Oh, do they?
Yeah,
Wow.
that families can go down. It's pretty
I remember you used to grab your hands up on the front there, and then you used to tip like this to make it turn a little bit and everything else. And the front driver was the one that yelled out, "Look out, hang on." And then the ropes on the side here, that's where you put your hands and then hung on that way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't see that they came down through there.
Mm-hmm. Then you walked up back the hill and did it again. Traded off who was driving, if they did a bad job or good job.
Very cool.
Yeah, Snow Riders Club. Was that okay?
Yeah.
No, you don't need to do that.
Oh, yes, we do.
Very honored to do that, but
2011 took them long enough.
look at this model here.
I just realized that this truck said Frozen Nuts race team.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
This guy made this model over in Wisconsin too. But look at how he made it and put duct tape on the seat, made bungees and everything else in an old crate, and put a for sale sign on it. Then he put on there, paying to play in the snow. Frozen Nuts Racing. What a great job he does. And then he's got the tether switches and the throttle cables and everything there.
Wow.
And the ski loops and the shocks, everything. Dennis does a great job.
even the ground that it's on, you know, that looks real.
But how we made the crate,
Oh, and the moving blanket.
yeah, and the bungees.
Pallet.
Not the crate, the pallet, yeah, excuse me.
That is very cool.
But like you said, look at the tether.
Oh my gosh. You gotta be kidding me.
And unusual too is motor ski doll. Back in the day, right in the early 70s, they made a little doll. And very lucky to somebody donated that to a museum. And frozen nuts made a player's hood as a decoration. He even made a motor sticking out one side of the snowmobile hood. Decaled it all up.
Got the little clips down there.
Yep. What a super job. Look at the star power sticker that players had back then.
Man.
And then he has a light in here, and it's a shop light to hang onto the wall.
Really cool.
Yep. You can see the light there.
What's the deal with this red line?
That was made in Fargo. And
Oh,
they
really?
made 56 of them. And the company was originally out of California, and they made go-karts and stuff like that. And, they decided to make a snowmobile. And it was a 800 motor with a reverse type, and the clutch was over on this side. Big suspension, everything else. And it just got a little bit too heavy, but very exotic for its time. And they put 56 of them out, and then they quit production. And you do see them around at shows once in a while yet. And one guy down in Forest Lake, he owns one too.
You gotta get it.
This here's a clone of a Grand Prix, and the Grand Prix was made by a guy that worked as a quality control at the factory. His name is Maynard Erickson. He lives in Moose Lake, Minnesota right now. And he was there to manufacture in 1970 and 1971, the Grand Prix. It was the most luxurious sled back then with butterfly handlebars. And the reason he went to butterfly handlebars, one of the guys that was racing skidoos, I think back then one of his handle grips fell off. Oh. So they decided to make butterfly handlebars so that his hand wouldn't fall off. So it's a unique thing to have that. They only made one with purple, and what Maynard did is this is a player's trail, and he took and made this look like a Grand Prix. And his whole idea was replacing what they did make back in the day. They made them up here in Isle, Minnesota. And like I said, they made 1,070 and 1,071. Then they found out that it was costing them too much to build them. And so they finally phased out and quit production. One company that was investing in the company was from Hawaii. So they loaded one snowmobile on the airplane and shipped it clear to Hawaii, because they do have snow on one mountain, but they did run it on the beaches in Hawaii.
Oh, cool.
So, but you'll see it's a lot of nice features. And like I said, it was listed for $1,795, $1,800, and back then most sleds were right around $1,000. So it was, but it was really classy, aluminum chassis. They had all the components were all one with a jack shaft, so they didn't burn any drive belts. They first started with a JLO engine in '70, and then went to a CCW in '71. Beautiful looking sled, all aluminum skis. If you do have one, this is a Cadillac of all Cadillac sleds for that time.
Certainly does look ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm. A guy took and milled the hood. He modeled the hood off of a Skidoo Nordic.
Trying to catch the paint right in the camera, it just doesn't pop like it does in real life. So cool though.
Did you want to see a real one?
Yeah.
We should go over here. I got this one tore apart right now. This is what this is a Grand Prix too, but it's a 71, and what we're going to do is the restaurant and bar over here 3 miles from here is we're going to put it up on a wall.
Oh, cool.
So I'm taking the engine out and the heavy components, and they're going to put it up on an angle in a bar.
Awesome.
Because it's made here in Isle, Minnesota.
Really cool.
Yeah. So if you ever up in Waukon, Minnesota, stop in to the Tulipi Tavern, walk on in, and take a look at we'll have some more pictures of the real original snowmobile made in Isle, Minnesota.
That's really cool.
I forgot.
Be a good,
Catching.
a good decoration.
Yeah. We're trying to figure out, we want to try to make it. And then the modern thing is the kids' sleds for kids. That's the next generation. We got to keep them interested.
Yeah.
I have to show you this. I don't think you've seen this picture before. Okay, this is back in the day, in Polaris's day, they were delivering snowmobiles. But one cool thing, you see their vent here was taped all up because they didn't have a very good seal. But it's hard to see, but you do see a little plastic thing here. What is that? We used to have a little plastic you put on the side windows so it wouldn't freeze. See, so the frost wouldn't, you could see through that.
Huh.
Where the rest of you would have to scrape and everything else. And the heaters weren't that good in the days back then to keep everything defrost. So that's why you had that little plastic on the side of the windows.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that almost looks like a little hole where, you know, if the window doesn't open or something.
Yeah.
But
This is 1966 too, the way the hood louvers on the Polaris were, and then
wow, it'd be cool to get your hands on one of those delivery trucks. All right.
yep, side step. That was cool.
That's a cool truck.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, but I missed that.
This Snow Fury was made in Sweden in 1969, and it's kind of cool looking as it was. There was a lot of different companies that came back and then, and this is a 303 cc 20 horsepower Wankel rotary, and how they set it on in there, and it had a underseat storage, so you could just lift it up and see how easy and convenient it is to put your storage and whatever you wanted to have to go out riding. And it very simple, Mark II Snow Fury from Sweden, 1969. It even had, this is a kickstand. It got a little bent, but this is a kickstand. You push down, lift the sled up, and it was a warm-up stand. So you can get your track wheeling, and it gets kind of stiff being in the cold, and it warms it up so that when you go, you don't have to worry about burning your drive belt or anything like that.
Simple.
One thing I wanted to point out back here is an Arctic Cat Panther 1970 with a 399 Kohler engine. And this guy was Billy. He was a local guy that liked to ride a lot of snowmobiles in the wintertime. And even when the snow disappeared here, he went further north. But one thing cool about this, he gave this to his son, and then I bought it from his son. And it's got 10,000 miles on the speedometer. And that was before his son got it, because his son didn't ride it very much. But to have an Arctic Cat go 10,000 miles without breaking the, nothing against Arctic Cat, but with the old snowmobiles that you didn't break the speedometer by that time. But he really enjoyed it. To see 10,000 miles on the speedometer, I thought, wow, I got to put it in the museum because it's so super cool.
Wow. Is that the original windshield?
No.
No. Really cool. Very cool.
Another sled that was popular back then was the Aaron's, and they made lawnmowers and stuff like that, but this was the one was made in Wisconsin. It's a 300 Mark III, and that was a wider track. And everybody was trying to get into the, manufacturing of snowmobiles, and it was just another byproduct that they did. They used JLO motors and all sorts of different motors, whatever they could get at, but awful different design, the way the hood louvers and everything else to cool the motor, a dual headlight, and kind of a whitish, orangish sled.
Yeah. Let's see if I can sneak over there.
All sled manufacturers back then, this is a Saxon, this one, all had about the same placement. It was high in the tunnel, and you sat with your legs on the sides of it to keep you kind of warm, which it was warm, but they were still kind of tippy. But the motor was right in the center. And a lot of times they would give you a back blast of gasoline so that when you went into some places, your suit smelled gasoline, they knew you were snowmobiling back then. This is a Ski Cat. I don't know if you have this one. This is a Ski Cat. This was made in Farmington, Michigan, 1969. This is a blue with black stripes and a white belly pan. But look at how much difference this is. Different type of hood with the vents in it. And this had a JLO motor, but it had to be laid down on its angle to get it underneath the handlebars. So many snowmobiles back then had underseat storage. So when you traveled and everything else, you could always carry extra dry belts and extra fishing poles and stuff like that. But this was kind of unique with a light blue or dark blue with a white belly pan and black tunnel. And this one too did have the rear kickstand so that you could, because the tracks were so cold back then, they had to get, a lot of times get warmed up before you could go, otherwise you'd burn the dry belt.
I don't know if I've seen such a long carb right on the back there in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They had to put the adapter a little bit up. See, they had to move the motor down like this because it wouldn't fit underneath the steering post.
Oh, wow.
That's why they had to put it like this. Kind of goofy looking.
Yeah, interesting, all right.
Just a different setup that every manufacturer made it different. But as soon as they went, like Arctic Cat had the motor in front and stuff like that, then all of a sudden everybody else decided to do that too. And it was a lot better than having the motor sit in your lap.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Really cool looking though.
Unique. Every snowmobile manufacturer had their different setup. Because they were worried about, they didn't want to intrigue into other other patents if they did have a patent or whatever they were doing.
Stinger.
Yep. That was a Viking snowmobile made in Manitoba, up at Beausejour, Manitoba. It was part of Polaris. And what they did is they made this Viking and they marketed it for the Canadian people up in Canada. So that it was a deluxe back in 1969. They used the same chassis, different paint for the Polarises. And then the Larsons, they made some Larsons like this for Larson snowmobiles too. Again, this had the seat riser on it too, but this one has a JLO motor in it. And it still has the Manitoba, this is the license plate for Manitoba.
And now the Snow King and the Snow Wing, are those related?
Nope.
No?
That's another one, the Snow, forgot about the Snow King here. This is made in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. That was out western, this is 1966. Look at how thin the seat is back then. We didn't have much for, you know. And this is the same, you know, early design. And one thing about they never had the hoods to come off because they didn't want to, they didn't think about it right back then. And even Scorpion, they pop ribbeted the hoods on so we couldn't get them off. So when you had to work on them, you had to drill all the rivets out and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was entirely different. But that was back in 1966 too. And here we have a snow mallard, and this is all with the motor up front, but it's all fiberglass. The whole tunnel, belly pan, everything's fiberglass. It was made over in Wisconsin, and they used to make campers and stuff like that, so they had to have something to do, and so they used Salisbury clutches and JLO motor, and then down here they even had a disc brake on the jack shaft, the shaft, which was pretty cool back then. Usually you just had a little pucker brake on it.
Oh, wow.
So this was pretty advanced, but it was all fiberglass. Had a nice tilt hood that you could work on things. And you really set up high with this seat combination. And you were almost like driving a Harley Davidson. The handlebars come sweeping back and everything else. Had a little door to put your stuff in and everything. It just was surprising, the fiberglass tunnel and everything. Very nice example of this. One guy kind of redid it for me, but it's I'm honored to have it here and tell the history and show how beautiful they were back then.
Yeah, really neat looking.
Want your honest opinion. I know this is kind of helter-skelter. Does it look okay, or?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you get the clusters of the red, white, and blue, and then a couple of the poppy blues coming out, and the red, white, and blues over there. Yeah. No, this is cool.
I'm into motors, you know that. And I
Oh,
like to have the motors on the back because that really,
Yeah.
that powered snowmobiles back
Yeah.
then. And that's what's, you know, that was the main thing is 1970 and on that they started making their own motors for snowmobiles. Before they were just water pump motors, and they were hard to put in snowmobiles and get any performance out of them and reliability.
Never seen that Polaris 4-cylinder.
No, just put that up.
The only other one, what was that? Yamaha made like a V4 for a little while, right?
Yep, they made a 4-cylinder, and then Artie Cat in 71, they had a 4-cylinder King Cat.
Oh, okay.
And then AMF had a JLO 4-cylinder in their race sled in 71.
Wow.
And walk on his way home, he slid off the ditch and rolled his pickup and his covered trailer in it and smashed his whole hood all up.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that he had an accident with the sled. And I was like,
No,
oh,
no, it was in the, and it wasn't secured down, and the pickup rolled over with a little Ranger, and he was trapped in the Ranger.
Oh, no.
And so, you know, here he had such a nice job done, and he's redoing it again now. And I got him another hood to redo, and yeah, just lucky he's here. That's the main thing.